Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Seth Williams and JP Moses, and we have the opportunity to sit down and talk with Luke Smith today.
Thanks, guys.
So, by the way, JP, you can't see him right now if you're watching us talk. He's on the other end. You'll see him in a minute when he starts talking. But Luke Smith, if you've been in the land business for any length of time, there's a high likelihood you know the name or you've heard the voice. He's got an awesome YouTube channel. He does a ton of volume, like thousands of deals. He's one of the guys that, I don't know of many people who have taken it to the level that he has in terms of how many places he's worked, how many different ways he's tried to master the business and come up with new ideas and ways to pursue properties and like just squeeze value out of different opportunities that come up. So JP and I both thought he would be just an awesome candidate to talk to on the subject of pricing offers. And not just pricing offers, but also like everything that goes with that in terms of understanding land value and with blind offers, how you formulate different numbers to go out to people. It's one of those areas that understandably people get very stuck on and tripped up on and just have a lot of hesitancy and uncertainty about what they're doing. And if anybody could add a lot of just insight to this process, I think Luke is somebody who can do that. So Luke, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And it's rare that I actually get to meet with people in person like this. Luke just happened to be in Michigan, in Traverse City, and he was kind enough to drive down to Grand Rapids to do this. So thank you for doing that, Luke. Appreciate it.
Get to see a lot of land along the way.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's lots of empty vacant land on that drive.
It's kind of eerie and kind of fun and kind of weird when internet friends get to meet in real life and see that you're actually real humans.
I know. Yeah, it always kind of strikes me like seeing somebody's face in 3 dimensions instead of just like on a screen. It's like weird.
Usually my first thought is, wow, you're much taller or shorter or whatever than I thought you were.
Yeah, for sure. Luke is pretty tall. Yeah. So I guess I'll just kind of get us started here. So Luke, for people who are hiding under a rock and they do not know who you are, what is your background? Like, when did you first get into land? Why did you decide to get into this? Just give us the backstory on who you are.
I was a stockbroker and penny stocks, like high risk penny stocks, mining, oil and gas, natural resources. And the natural resource business was going well, but it was taking an absorbent amount of my time. And that business, it's all commissions, it was a commission only business. And so the business goes up and down. And so I knew I had to have some offsetting revenue to pay for the downtimes or else I'm going to be out of business. So the markets crashed in Detroit and even before real estate crashed elsewhere, and it's nothing to do with natural resources, totally different than the business I was in. And I figured income from those properties could help offset when the brokerage business was going bad sometime out in the future. And I had a lot of money coming in 2008 when the markets were really crashed in Detroit. And so I started buying just distressed properties from banks, right? Sent my sister over there to take care of them. And she took care of them and rented them out. And properties, buy these things for 5, 10, 15 grand and rent them out for like $1,100 a month. You can't do that now, but you could then. And I thought that was great. And over time, the brokerage business was taking too much of my time, and I could live off of the revenues from the Detroit businesses or Detroit properties and other things. And I didn't have to go to work anymore. So I quit. And, but I wanted more of those Detroit properties. So I started trying to figure out how to buy them. The biggest cost in buying them was the real estate agents and the banking, insurance, middleman, all the middleman title people in between. And I figured if I could cut them out or cut some of them out or half of them out or something, the yields on the Detroit properties would go up. And so I started researching how to do that. And people weren't doing that with houses that I could see, but they were doing it with land. The land guys were cutting out the middlemen and they were doing it on their own. And I figured I could learn from them and I could go back to Detroit and buy more of these high income producing houses, these rental houses. And I started doing land deals to test it out and learn. And that's so much easier than doing the houses. So I haven't gone back to buy houses, So Like I was just telling Seth, just sold the last Detroit house last week. That was the problem child that was the hardest to rent. And the furnace and the hot water heater got stolen 2 days before closing. And it's like, it's just classics. Like, goodbye, Detroit.
Classic Detroit.
Yeah. I got another probably stolen one to replace it with. But I got it fixed. But I don't have to fix that kind of stuff with land. Those problems don't come up. Other problems come up, but they're usually a lot easier to deal with. And so I started buying these land properties and selling them and buying them and selling them. And the numbers were pretty sweet. I thought they were sweet. And I figured, how many times can I do that? Like, how many of those can I do? And just start asking that question. And what do I have to do to, can I do that deal every day instead of once a month or once a quarter? Like, how many of those can I do a day? And just pushing the limits and going for it. And so I've been doing that. I started, the other part of your question was 2013, September of 2013, I started mailing out offers. And I started selling, I think the first one sold in like November, but it took me a couple months to actually get offers to work and buy them and turn them over and sell them. That first one I did, I bought for $500 and sold for $4,500. And the seller said, no, you can't just buy the one for $500. You got to buy two of them. So I ended up buying two of them for $1,000. The first one I sold for $4,500. I don't remember what I sold the second one for. It didn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
The first put $500 into $4,500 and sold it so fast I didn't have to pay taxes or anything.
Wow.
I mean, those are numbers that most anybody that's interested in investing can start with.
Yeah.
They're numbers you can wrap your head around. Like you said earlier today, you don't have to go to the bank. You don't have to get somebody to sign off on giving you permission or whatever. Those are numbers that most people can risk on their own and go for it. And that's a beautiful thing about land. You can start with these small dollar properties in the middle of nowhere, and people will buy them, and people will want to get rid of them. And so there's a big difference between people that want to get rid of them, people that want to buy them. And you can make a market in them and run with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I got started. That's when, that's how, that's why, all wrapped into one.
Awesome. Yeah, great answer.
Man, Luke, I think, I don't know if you see yourself this way, but just as I've entered this year, the land investing arena anew, I've seen, names and people who are just kind of in the sphere and who are making waves and visible. And you're one of the names on the radar. And it's great to hear. Was it September 2013 that you started? Did I get that right? So that was your superhero origin story. So I don't know if you see yourself as Spider-Man or Iron Man in the land investing arena, but that's your origin story. I think it would help me to hear for a moment, just to fast forward to today and get a snapshot compared to that origin. What's a snapshot of what your land investing endeavors look like right now at a high level?
I messed up the year. I quit the brokerage business September 2013. I started the land business September 2015. The same idea. So going from there to now, I was just sharing the software that I've been working on with Seth, and it's a database system that helps me keep track of different people that are investing in my deals, different people that are investing in my mailers, different people that are trying to buy land from me, different people that I'm trying to sell land to, and keeping track of and juggling all those balls has been a cacophony of it's been a mess. I never had a way to keep track of it. I would use multiple spreadsheets, different spreadsheets for different things. But until this lady, Karen, that I've been working with started saying, you gotta, because she would help me fix stuff. She helps me fix things when I mess up a deed or when I mess something up. I mess things up. She helped me fix them. She says, you need a way to locate that deed from 2 years ago. We need we need this, we need that. We need a better way to keep track of everything. And her brother was using this software made in Australia called Jura to basically build operating systems, how to keep track of everybody that's involved in the development of software. This is software made for software developers. So it's got all kinds of options, right? You can customize it to whatever business process you're trying to do. And you can change it along the way, unlike everything else I've seen. you don't know when you begin what you're trying to create, but you learn over time. And this software allows you to change your systems as you learn what you're doing over time, and your business morphs over time. And so I've got this software going, and that allows me to keep track of multiple different title closes, purchases, sales, and investors, and give automatic updates to those people. And that's where I'm at now. And so what I'm doing is I'm logging in and I'm seeing all the new offers that are coming in that day, and I'm doing due diligence on them.
Okay.
They're $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 kinds of properties to buy and hopefully sell for double or more than that, instead of $500 trying to sell for $4,500, or $500 trying to sell for $1,000, or $1,000 trying to sell for $2,000 kinds of volume deals I did a lot of in the past. So that's where I'm at. I think the bigger dollar ones and being able to keep track of them is the magic piece of that.
So at some point between here and there in your story, and you said, I'm going to scale. If I'm understanding you correctly, you scaled maybe a little bit in the terms of the number of deals you do in a month, but more in the dollars, the zeros on the ends of the deal was where you focused. Is that right, or is that not?
Yeah. So first I scaled the numbers of deals.
Okay.
And I was trying to do it with my own money, and started taking on some partners and some other money partners. But more recently, I've been scaling in the dollar sizes because of the ability to use partners' money.
Yeah.
Other people's money has come available to me. And that just allows to go in much larger dollar size deals with the same ideas, the same attributes, the same stuff. Just you can target markets that are happening more. There's more people showing up that are more educated, that have a better idea of what's going on. The level of conversation that you're having in the sale is it's about real stuff. It's not about spaceships and aliens, and it's about real things like building a house and the economics of it, and just makes a lot more sense, right? It's a lot more logical conversations on the sale and on the buy side, and I like that more. The conversations are easier, they're faster, they're more productive, and I think it's a better place to be doing business than $1,000 desert property in the middle of nowhere, which I can sell them all day long. Like I don't even blink at selling those anymore. Yeah. Like that's not the end game. Mm-hmm. It's a waste of time.
And I'm assuming the process of valuing lots or big parcels of land and sending out blind offers and that kind of thing, that differ a lot between smaller rink-getting properties versus huge $100,000 parcels of land? Is it a very different process?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, you start getting a little bit more detailed. Mm-hmm. Like you start biting your nails more when the deal's going through. It starts to matter more. You start doing a little more research because the dollar sizes are bigger. I find myself looking at, it starts making sense to pay for a wetlands consultant on this property. Yeah. It starts making sense to have the deep dive with the county on planning and zoning, on the total knowing really, really depth what the uses are, and making sure the square footage on the property is big enough to meet the zoning required square footage of the property, like stuff like that. You're buying the desert squares, doesn't matter. The people that are buying them, they don't even know what questions to ask. They're just buying them. But when they're going to actually build on them and use them, those questions matter. Like they got to be usable properties, or you're going to get stuck with them. Yeah. And so that's the difference. But pricing them, it's the same thing. What's for sale in the market? Okay, it's $100,000. I want to sell at $50,000. Let's go buy at $25,000. Some math like that, or some basic calculation like that. Just go offer $25,000 to all of those kinds of properties.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think a lot of that has to do, especially when you get into the higher end properties. Real estate appraisers have a term called the highest and best use. So, and this comes into play, especially when you're looking at vacant lots, because that use hasn't really been determined yet. I mean, if it's zoned to commercial or whatever, there's 100 different things you might be able to build there, whether it's self-storage or retail space or office building. I mean, you name it. So I would think that's probably something that, I mean, not that it's a must, but it probably helps to understand like what particular use would make this property most valuable to somebody, or most valuable to somebody. And yeah.
When you put that into the pricing, if the data is good enough, and if the data is not good enough in lots of areas, but some areas you can get data on that. You can price for it. Like we were just talking earlier today about a property I got in the queue, that it's a minimum of 5 family units per acre that you have to build on the property. You can't build a single family residence. It's got to be 5-plex or up to a 9-plex per acre. And so I'm studying that and going through my data. I'll give the same example we were just talking about. I think there's 86 or 89 whatever properties in that county that have that exact same zoning. And so now that I've got one of them that the guy's selling to me, I'll figure out what I can sell it for, and then I'll go back to that specific zoning of that specific county and make an offer based on the first deal that I did of that size, that zoning, and I'll price it based on how many units can be built on that property versus the acreage. If it's 20 acres and it's minimum 5 per acre or maximum 9 per acre, you do the math, how many units you can build on there, but price it per unit, what the economics probably are for one of those units. You can get like a harmonic kind of pricing for it, and you can make an offer on that depending on their zoning, their acreage, and maybe how close it is to town, or a little bit of that, but not so much. And throw the offers out there and see if they come back. Your pricing is going to be a lot more accurate to buy a property like that than just blanketing the whole county. But I wouldn't have found that without blanketing the county first. And so it's a iterative stepping into pricing, is getting more precise as I learn, as I do deals in that area. I get better in that area, I can dive deeper and I can price accordingly. But the first step is the hardest. It's getting the first offers out there. It's making a fool of yourself and answering the phone call, like actually answering the phone call off of those letters that you sent out. If you're sending out letters, and people will yell at you and they'll make fun of you and they'll belittle you and everything else. And the next call, the guy will say yes. And if you lost your nerve in those first couple calls, which are the knee-jerk reactions from people getting the offer, they say, yeah, right, go away, go to hell, all kinds of nasty stuff. You probably stop answering the phone call. You probably start sending them to voicemail, right? Any normal, rational person would. But you miss that call of the one that says yes. Monday morning, they say yes. Friday afternoon, they're telling you off. Like, you got to answer that Monday morning call that says yes. And then you got a deal. And you learn from it. You go research it, you do due diligence, and that's when you got something to really go learn from. And later on, after you sell it, you know what they sell for, and you know they actually sell, and you know there's a market for it, then you make the next offer. It's a lot more accurate for that stuff, whatever that thing is that you just bought. Go buy the rest of them.
Luke, is your acquisition channel now, I know you play the game at a different level than you did in 2015, clearly. Has your acquisition method changed much, or are you still sending letters for blind offers just to larger parcels and different types of parcels now than you did?
Yeah, I didn't even change the letter. I don't think it's it's like, that's not the point. I think the point is the deliverance. Got to get up off the couch and you got to actually do something. A lot of people read and they study and they hum and they haw and they don't get over the start. Like, you just got to get started.
Can you give me a snapshot? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Can you give me a snapshot of the offer pricing process as it exists for you right now? When you sit down, you pull a bunch of parcels of land that meet the certain criteria, certain acreage, certain zoning, and you start pricing offers. What does that look like for you today?
Yeah, so it depends a lot on the area. So if we're going for desert squares, I look at what the desert squares are going for, and I look at how many of them are available out there in the universe of them. And I do some math. I'm trying to buy the cheapest ones because I want to be the cheapest in the market. Cheapest in the market's first one to sell. And I want to do them fast, so I want to be the cheapest in the market. How many of those can I do? Does 20 of them flood the market, or does 50 of them flood the market, or does one of them flood the market? So it's looking at the market depth and breadth before I even mail there. Why bother in some of these?
How do you determine when a market is flooded? Like, is there like you just gave the example of, is 20 a flooded, or is one flood market?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know, okay, yes, we've hit that flooding point?
So there's a website that a lot of people in land dealing hate, but everybody knows. There's a lot of good information. It's Zillow. You know, you can go on Zillow, and lots of areas you can look at what's for sale, and you can look at the statistics, how many people looked at that property, and you can see how many people saved it, and you can see how long the thing's been on the market.
Yeah.
And a lot of those statistics are junk. Like, it's been on the market for 2,000 days or something. Like, there's a lot of bad stuff on Zillow, but there's a lot of good stuff too. And so if you look at the newest ones that are on the market, the ones that just got listed, not sorting by price or anything, but the ones that just got listed, what's just getting listed, how many people are looking at it? Is it like 100 people a day are looking at it? It's been listed for 2 days. It's got 200 views. That's a pretty good market.
Yeah.
Is it one just got listed a week ago and there's 2 people that looked at it? You don't want to buy in that market. Even like cutting the price down to 25% of what the stuff's selling for out there, or what it's listed for out there. It's probably, nobody's looking at it.
Yeah. So, and I totally agree. And I think that those things you're talking about on Zillow, like, it's gold, just in terms of the insight it can give you. So we kind of have this example of higher would be maybe 100 or 200 people within a week. And if lower is 1 to 2 people within a week. What's sort of that middle point? When do you cross it over into, okay, like, now this is a good market, or now this is a good type of property to pursue? Is it like 20 or 50, or what would you say that is?
I don't think there's a magic number. Like, it's
his spidey sense has to tingle.
Yeah. Like, some of these counties are really small and some are really big. Like, you can't just look at that per county. I mean, I think like San Bernardino County, for example, if you go look at San Bernardino County and you just look at it off the cuff, and if you don't know anything about the market there, you're going to think it's flooded, because there's like thousands of properties in San Bernardino County that are for sale at any given time. If you take the 5-acre properties, there's thousands of 5-acre properties, desert,
that's also
vacant
a
ones.
Big county too, in terms of land mass.
It's a huge county. Yeah. There's thousands of 10s and 20s and 40s. But if you look at that market over time, you can see, like, sometimes the 5s will get really cheap. Sometimes the 10s will get really cheap. Sometimes the 40s will get really cheap. And other times people have been buying them up and the spreads widen. Like, I know what I can generally buy 40s for, 20s, 10s, and 5s in San Bernardino County, because I've mailed it so many times. But when the prices are dropping down, like, there's another land dealer that just bought a bunch of them, and the same guy's got like 20 of them for sale. 20 40s for sale for like 10 grand. You don't want to mail San Bernardino County, because you're probably buying them for like 4 and 5 grand, and you got a bunch of competition there. But if they're selling for 15 plus, you could probably buy them for 5, 4, 5, 6, something like that, and sell them for 10, 11, 12, and double your money and still not have any serious competition. But San Bernardino County is very liquid of when you're at the tipping point of price, when you're the cheapest one priced in there, like, you can put a lot of volume through that market. But if you look at it off the cuff, it looks flooded because there's so much stuff for sale. And so it's you got to know more about than just looking at the pricing, or the numbers of units on the market.
It sounds like it's, I mean, not surprisingly, very, very viable. Even if you send a direct mail campaign and nothing sticks, you're always going to learn a lot about like, what are people or are people not willing to sell for? Because, like, once you have a better grip on, like, yes, I could buy this size property for this price or not. I don't know, that just gives you a lot of information in terms of the next time you go in, you can be a lot more educated.
The not is huge, because now, like, there's a bid out there. There's somewhere that you're not going to be losing money when you buy these properties. You're not going to be selling them down there. All these people won't sell them down there. You could probably sell them to those people. You're offering 20 grand and nobody will sell to you for whatever that is you're offering 20 grand for. Try 30, maybe one comes in. There's a bunch of, like, market behind you to back you up to go try to sell that thing for 60 or 100. you probably got a lot more room for error there to go run for it.
Yeah.
When you get turned down by everybody. Yeah. Try it again at a higher price.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know some of the other land investors we've talked to about pricing offers, you know, as you can imagine, they've talked about the helpfulness of not only hitting a county that you have experience in because you have a feel for the market, but also when the types of properties you're trying to buy are the types where there's a lot of them. Like there's a lot of, you know, subdivisions with cookie cutter lots and that kind of thing. But when you start getting into the properties that are larger, and there's not so many examples of that, you know, maybe it's like this, would you say 33 acres on top of a mountain somewhere in Arizona? Like that's just, it's a very unique and pretty valuable type of property. How do you go about figuring out values for that? And I guess also, you know, I assume you're starting with a blind offer even to find that one. And then once you hear back from them, like what do you drill down on to say, yes, that was or that was not an appropriate number to begin with?
JP was trying to say something.
Please, I defer to that question first. Thank you.
Okay. So I think I'll go back to the iterative approach.
Yeah.
Making a blind offer across a large area. And I like to do it more than just the county, but like the back half of California, right? Like let's go all the mountains of the backside of California. Like who makes offers like that? I don't know anybody else makes offers, or the whole state of New Mexico. Like I mailed the whole state of New Mexico, you know, like, or we're just talking about the upper half of the lower peninsula in Michigan. I mean, it just huge campaigns. A lot of people say, why would you send them out all at the same time? It's because I want to know the answer, you know, and a lot of that data is telling me what's going on in the market. I mail out large numbers of offers and I see where they're coming in. And I try not to say yes right away. I try to put them off, and other people I'm working with get really bugged about that. But
so you don't have your metric of formula worked out. When you're in a new area, you're using the data you get from the mailing to create your pricing, basically, that makes sense based on the response people see. You might do a little intel into looking at what's going on Zillow and kind of use your best guess. But then you're relying on the data you get back from your mailing. Am I understanding you right?
Yeah. The data I'm getting from the county, I've paid for it. I get to study it. I get to see what stuff is in there that other counties don't have. The weird stuff. Sometimes they talk about access and not. Sometimes they talk about it's mountainous or not. Sometimes they say if it perks or not. Like some of these counties have some really good data in there that's unique to that county. So I learn from that, see if I can use that. I learn from the responses that people get back to me, like Island County, Washington, for example. This guy's getting back to me, and it's these like 2.5 acre properties. And he's saying, you know, you can't build on these things because you have to have a water well to get a building permit. And to get a water well, you have to have a 200-foot radius, and it can't run into other people's, and it's got to be on your land. Like the neighboring counties, you still need the 200-foot radius, but it can be out into other people's land if they don't have a well or a septic or a house there, you know? But in this county, it's got to be on your land. And so these 165-foot wide properties, they're not fat enough to fit the 200-foot water well radius. How the heck would I know that without mailing them, right?
Yeah.
So I mail them and I learn all this stuff. It's like I'm not buying these skinny lots in that county. Like they don't work. Yeah. You'd have to get, I don't even know if easements from the neighbors would work. It doesn't sound like it. Yeah. So those lots are unbuildable. Then a bunch of people tried to sell them to me. And because I waited a bit to buy them, they looked awesome. Sweet price, trees, you could see the ocean, you know, like drive up to them. I didn't buy them. This guy told me why I shouldn't be buying them. And he's right on. I double checked. He totally is giving me the intel that I wouldn't be able to get any other way. And so now I can target the ones that are wider, the ones that maybe are in some HOA community that has water. I could get maps of where the water lines go, and I can offer more to those properties. You know, I can learn from that, and I can adjust pricing for round 2 and round 3 and round 4. So I learn from each one of those, and I can drill down and I can get more accurate and I think a lot better deals. And some of the people yell at me, sent me a second offer, even though I told you not to, you know, but some of those same people might sell to me too.
Mm-hmm.
Luke, there's going to be a segment of people listening to this conversation in the future that are right there with you. I mean, they're seasoned in the land game. They've already crossed the threshold of, leveling up, scaling up in the numbers and types of deals that they're doing, and they're eating this up. They're like, yes, right on. This is right up my alley. I think there's also going to be a segment of people who are you in 2015, who are saying, that sounds great. I want to be that one day, but I can't relate to it because I'm still trying to buy the $500 to $1,500 lots and figuring out how to price these offers. So those deals that now make you throw up in your mouth a little bit to think about doing them, can you imagine yourself, just rewind back to 2015 and give yourself advice, not knowing what you know now about the counties? Because a lot of what you're sharing is so valuable, but it's something you could only learn through the experiences that you've had, right?
Yeah, I think you're right on. First, a lot of the new guys always think, Luke's already done that, or Seth has already done that, or these guys have already done it. Why could I still have an opportunity there? And I don't know how to explain it, but maybe I'll start with just a little story. Like, I had a guy call me on a Monday morning, and he was asking me for advice because he sent a mailer. We'll go back to San Bernardino County. He was looking at the market in San Bernardino County, and from whatever I said in the past, he mailed San Bernardino County, and he looked at it, and it looked like the best economics were on the 40s. So he mailed the 40-acre properties. And he was looking at the economics based on, I could probably buy for $100 an acre. It's a desert square. $100 an acre is a good rule of thumb in the middle of nowhere, desert square. $500 minimum seems to work. I'll make an offer on those things, $4,000 or whatever for 40 acres. He didn't offer $4,000. He offered $6,500 or $6,800. I don't remember the exact number. But he called me for advice because he had like 12 deals from his mailer, and he was trying to figure out which ones to buy. And, I had just looked at San Bernardino County the week before, and the 40s looked like a good spread. And it looked like nobody was selling 40s at normally low dirt bag prices that should happen. And it looked like I could go buy some. And so instead of offering like $100 an acre, which is kind of like your good rule of thumb, I was looking at it and doing some math, and I figured I'd offer $3,600 for 40. I don't know why I came up with that number, but the point of the story is it doesn't make sense that he offered $6,800, and he sent his out like 3 weeks before mine, and he was getting his offers in. And I had just sent mine out that Friday, like just before. And I was such a cheapskate. I printed them and like licked the envelopes, everything. I did it myself, like I just put that stupid thing in the mail on Friday. It was first class mail. They're going to get there quick. And so I looked at his offers. I'm just thinking over the phone, I just did all that work for nothing. I'm not going to get any deals.
Because he offered twice as much as you, right? And
couple weeks, like 3 weeks before mine.
Yeah.
And on the exact same size, the same county, vacant land. I mean, there's a couple thousand of them to offer on there, but still, like, he's going to get all the deals. And he got like 12 of them, and they look, I picked 4 or 5 that looked the best, but I looked at all 12 of them, and I gave him honest advice on which ones I would buy if I were him. And just thinking my mailer's a bust. But I still bought deals off of that mailer at the $3,600 or $3,800 or whatever it was, when he had just mailed them at $6,800.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to price them, it goes back to the first thing. You just got to get off the couch and go send the stupid mail. Just send it. Just get it out there. It doesn't matter. Your pricing, it might matter a little bit, but it's not the main picture of what your pricing is. That's not the secret sauce. The guy that makes the offer that gets the deal is the secret sauce. You got to make the offer. Just make an offer. And people will call you, they'll mail you, they'll email you, they'll text you and everything. They'll say, no, I won't take your stupid, really stupid offer, but I will take this. And then go look up that property. So we're just talking about the one on the top of the mountain in Yavapai County. It's big, beautiful pine trees, as big as pine trees in Arizona, And we bought the property with some partners for $90,000. It's like a week ago. $90,000. We offered like 12 or 15 or less than $20,000 for the property. But he countered, and we haggled back and forth, and we came up with $90,000. Many, many times more than I offered. and that I would ever think of offering in that county for vacant land. But this one, it can be split multiple ways. The neighboring lots are all little cabin lots that are selling for $30-something thousand a piece for these like quarter acre, half acre things. The 33 acres on top of the mountain with the big trees and the views and high altitude above the deserts. People can go there in the summer and get out of the desert. Somebody will split it up and they'll make a killing on that thing. And so I'm looking at the uniqueness of that property after the offer was accepted. So I had the nerve to make an offer. I had the nerve to look it up, even though the guy gave me a ridiculous counter offer, and had the nerve to negotiate a price with him, pay for pictures and go look at it, not personally, but somebody else to go get pictures and look at it before I actually pay. And did the deal anyway. Like, just make the offer. You don't know what's going to come out of it until you make the offer.
Yeah.
Start the conversation, make the offer.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. Just in keeping the wheels going, you know, like you don't necessarily know where it's headed or what's going to happen or what somebody's going to say, but like just keep going. Like at some point when you stop, like that's really the only time you've officially lost or wasted your time. But if you keep pursuing leads, like,
call them back, talk to them, see why they say no.
Yeah.
Is it because of the timing? Like, is next month better? Some of them say no, and it's because like they're fixing the title and they're getting rid of a dead person, or they're doing stuff that I might have to do if they would have said yes, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we can do this trade on January 1st because of taxes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm scheduling you out. You know, they said no now, but the first thing next year, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So the first and most important, probably for many people, piece of advice you would give the 2015 Lukes out there would be, don't be afraid. Progress over perfection. Done is better than perfect. Get the mail out and let the data start to steer you. Let me ask though, because I think for me, the question of pricing my offers is not a matter of I'm afraid to get the mail out. It's a matter of how can I do this process, this pricing offers process more effectively, either requiring less of me or with less of my time. How can I get from point A, I'm ready to price offers, to point B, the letters are ready to be mailed, more effectively? Do you have any rules of thumb or guiding metrics that you would give the 2015 Luke if that were your question?
Yeah. There's a little square in Excel down in the bottom right corner, and just drag that sucker. Just click on it and drag it. If you figure one out, just drag it. Like, just get the offer out there. I mean, don't look them up. I've tried to do mailers with some guys, and they try to look up every property in the mailer, and they talk themselves out of why we shouldn't be making an offer on this property. I'm like, what if it was $5,000? You know, what if it was $1,000? Like, I don't even cut those ones out of the data. If I don't want it, it's like I just drop the price down so much that okay, I'll take it at that price. You know, just make that offer.
Now, I noticed I was watching a few of your YouTube videos briefly. By the way, Luke has an amazing YouTube channel. We'll link to it beneath this. What is it? Rural Vacant Land on YouTube or something?
Rural Vacant Land or Luke Smith.
Yeah.
Either of them come up. There's hundreds of videos. You'll run into some of them somewhere.
Yeah, just awesome, like very down-to-earth, real-world. I mean, just excellent information. But in one of your videos, I just saw you briefly mention that I think you'd said, and I've actually experienced it too, on blind offers, like a kind of right up the middle acceptance rate, not response rate, but acceptance rate is like 0.5% to 1%. And then I think you said if it's like 2%, then maybe you're offered too much. If it's lower than 5.5%, then maybe you've offered too little. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
Am I right? Like, what is a normal acceptance
I think those
rate?
numbers are great for 2015 Luke, Desert Squares, just getting started. Those numbers are great. You know, 2019 Luke, I wish I could get those numbers to work, but I can't. Like, I end up sending more mail. I send more mail. And I don't have enough time to go around to follow up on all the offers. I'm just cherry picking, just cream of the crop. Like, I don't have enough time for all of them. So there's too many acceptances. because I send out too much mail. And so I spend a lot more time just looking at a satellite picture of the thing, like, oh, swamp, next, like next. Oh, this looks nice. I see a road. I see something going on. Let's start researching it more, So
part of the reason I asked that question is because I think in a lot of people's minds, especially when they haven't done a whole lot of direct mail yet, there's probably this fear of like, I'm going to spend money on this mail and that's just going to be thrown away. I'm never going to see it come back. And so there's this reassuring, or in my mind anyway, I want to know that there's going to be some return and what that should look like when I'm doing it right. For these larger properties you're going at, I mean, I'm sure the acceptance rate is probably lower, I would imagine, but that's probably okay, because when you do a deal, it's a much bigger deal and covers all the money you'd spend on direct mail. So
it blows the direct mail budget out of the water. But it's the time. Like, so when you're starting out, theoretically, you're going to have more time to research these things and call these people and call the county, call the whoever, call the neighbor, call the local store. I like to call the local tack and feed store. Can you actually deliver horse food to this property? Like, no, there's so-and-so has got a gate. Like, you got more time to research that stuff and do due diligence. And that turns into more deals. Like, I don't have the time to do that on all the deals. I'm just trying to, Pareto principle the heck out of it. Pareto principle on top of Pareto principle, like the top 1/10 of 1%, not even top 20%, just the top stuff. And that's me passing up on a lot of deals. It's not because they're uneconomic. Just, I don't have the time. And it's a lot of deals that you guys could be doing and totally happy with. I mean, it totally beat out Wall Street returns or whatever kinds of other business returns you're looking at. But I'm just trying to get the cream of the crop stuff that's worth the time. And I think that number, that definition will change over my time. I mean, it'll probably be less and less residential and more commercial. It'll probably be, I'm just looking out into the future because the numbers are bigger, they're better per deal.
How often do you pursue, I know the name of your set is rural vacant land, but how often is it not rural vacant land, like in a densely populated area? Is that something you pursue a lot, or?
Well, when I do a blanket offer, I'm usually going for the cheapest stuff in the area or the county or something, or the region. And so usually the stuff in town doesn't show up because they value it more. Or it's some weird small lot. But lots of times I try to not target that stuff by the size of the land. You try to get a little bit bigger size of land. I mean, general rule of thumb, if you start getting the size of the land over 1 acre, you get rid of a lot of the stuff in town and a lot of the HOAs, not all of them, but a lot of them. And you get more vacant land. So that kind of targeting has been a lot of past mailers. But I think more future mailers, the stuff in town that is economic, it sells easier. It sells faster. Like, people can finance it. There's utilities there. They can slap a house up. Some builder guy can slap a house on there and sell it to, government-backed finance of some kind, whether it's VA or FHA or whatever kind of mortgages that people like to get. There's a lot of money. They pay, like, title, 30-day close, boom, wire, done. Like, you're not talking about land contracts and owner financing and cash drops.
We were talking earlier about, I've come across some people who will specifically target HOAs and nothing else, simply because a lot of other land investors are running away from that stuff. And it's, there's fees that make it less attractive and that kind of thing. I almost wonder if you could do a similar thing where you pursue only stuff in densely populated urban areas. Like, there's obviously obstacles to that. There's things that make it more challenging, but there's like nice perks to it too, like you were just mentioning. So just a thought.
You can sell them a lot bigger dollars, and people are looking at the economics of developing that land. They're not looking at the price of what you paid for it. You get the vacant land out in the middle of nowhere. They say, you just paid 10 grand for it. Why would I pay you 20? They offer, $10,500 because they're looking at the price I paid. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. So
by the way, how broad is your investing right now, or how many different states have you worked in? How many different counties are you focused on? Like a few very targeted areas, or are you just kind of all over the place? And how do you decide which areas to pursue in the first place?
I think as the history gets built up, I just look at what's sold out on my website. Like, okay, we need more of that. Let's go target that area. Okay, this area is sold out. Let's go get more of that area and try to refill them. Or we're all full. Maybe it's time to branch out in a new area, add on in a new area. So I try to make the market, increase the size of my market share. It's a supply and demand equation. It's like a grocery store would have, looking at the shelves, Let's look at inventory and see what needs restocking. You got history, you got data that adds up. You can see how fast it sold or how slow. You can see if people offered terms or cash. Some areas people offer a lot more cash than terms. It's like, do I want to keep going back to the areas that are always asking for terms? If I'm a terms guy and I'm trying to put a lot of money to work in terms, great. But I don't want to be a terms guy.
And you're seeing that on like LandWatch or something, or which places are you going to see?
My website.
Just your own history? Okay.
I got more volume than
I got you.
anyone
I've
else.
actually done that, by the way. I've been at your website for the specific purpose of figuring out, like, where are people doing things?
Yeah, that's why I leave the history on there, because so I can look at it, and so other people can look at it, and it's credibility too. So when people want to buy land in that area, they can see what it's been trading for. And some land dealers will buy a swash of land off my website, and they'll ask me to take it off the website, which is totally understandable. So there's big chunks of land that just disappear off the website. But for the most part, if retail's buying them, it's still on the website. And especially because people call like a year or 2 years later and they ask for directions to their property. Like, you ever give directions to vacant land? Like, it's not fun. You want to get off that call as fast as you can. So you just direct them to the website. Yeah, your land's still there. 1 sec, I'm going to text you a link to it. You can click on it and it'll give you driving directions. Click.
It's funny that they would be asking that question 2 years after they've bought it.
Oh yeah. The customer service snowballs over time. The more land deals you do, I mean, I
can imagine.
Yeah, people ask, how much did you pay me for that property? I'm doing my taxes, or I'm in a divorce settlement and I sold this property to you and I need this paperwork. And almost wish you could just cut it off and start over, like get rid of all the old stuff.
So I am, if it's not obvious enough already, I am 2015 Luke. I am my own version of 2015 Luke. And almost sounds like a Bible passage, something, doesn't it? Anyway, I am Luke from 2015. Halo. So that's me. And so I am, I have been for the last, 6-8 months, creating and trying to really get dialed in a pricing offers process. And if you don't mind, I'd like to hear what 2019 Luke thinks about this 2015 Luke's process. And I have no doubt that it is broken in multiple ways. So I'm not looking for a pat on the back. I want you to tell me these 3, 4, 5, or the whole thing kind of makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. I want to hear your honest feedback. Okay.
Do it. Go for it.
All right. So in the county that I'm in, it starts with I wanted these assets created by VAs so that we could use them moving forward. And the first asset was a pricing matrix, a Google sheet of all of the current listings in the county from land investors. And I specifically had him add only land investor type listings. So there's some of your listings in there,
nice.
not those that are listed by agents. And on that spreadsheet, you can usually get from the APN number or the map tax lot number, you can find out what the GPS coordinates are. So I had them add a column for the GPS coordinates. So for every single piece of land that's listed by an investor-owned property that's listed, is on the spreadsheet with GPS coordinates. Then we go to the tax roll, and we also use the APN or the map tax lot number to get the GPS coordinates and add it to the tax roll property. So the whole tax roll has GPS coordinates. Stage is set. Then we go to Google Earth. I had Abdul, my VA in Pakistan, take all of the pens, all of the GPS coordinates for the pricing matrix, the investor land owned listings, and put pins in Google Earth so that I can, because I'm not a spreadsheet guy, I'm a visual guy, so I need to see it on a map, right? So in the Google Map file, there is a pen for every single investor listing. And on the pen, it's labeled with the APN number, it's named the APN number, and the dollars per acre that they're trying to sell it for. So I can take any parcel from the map, I can take any piece of land from the county's tax roll, copy the GPS coordinates for that parcel, do a quick search in Google Earth, and it will zero right in on that parcel of land. And I can see in proximity what the other land investors are trying to sell the properties for on a dollars per acre basis.
Yeah.
This is not a process I rinse and repeat over and over and over again. We do it one time for the whole county, so it was hard work to start with. But now the weekly process kicks in because Abdul goes in and grabs X number of leads from the tax roll, finds them on Google Earth, sees what in proximity are land investors doing, dollars per acre, and based on all the parcels that we're going to make our offers on, we want to price offers on in proximity to that, he adds the same math equation. He says, okay, 25% of what other investors are trying to sell land for in this particular area is what we're going to apply inside the spreadsheet. And then he uses that little corner inside Excel that you can just drag and drop down for that chunk of properties, not for the whole county.
Yeah.
Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the process that he does on a weekly basis. And he serves me up a bunch of letters that I have to print and mail each week. I've removed myself from the process now that we've got that infrastructure in place. So tell me your honest opinion of that pricing offers process compared to the Luke 2019 Bible verse version.
Yeah. So who cares what they're trying to sell it for? What did they buy it for? Like the land investors, you should be able to look up what they bought it for. Like I think you should be looking at that number, not what they're trying to sell it for. So what you're trying to sell it for is like, it's just is BS. People are always negotiating price. Not very many of them really pay like the sticker price. Trying to figure out what they pay from sticker price to real price is a different art. But what did those land investors buy it for? How long ago did they buy it? Did they buy these things like a year or two ago? Just run, like get out of there. You know, their pricing it's wrong. Or did they just buy it a month ago? It's probably a healthier market. Their pricing makes a lot more sense.
And for this pricing, are you looking that up on Agent Pro or
tax
Zillow
history?
Okay.
You could look at lots of different places you can look for pricing. Mm-hmm. Some of the counties won't have it updated right away.
Yeah, one of the issues we were talking about with Mike Ferreira a couple of weeks ago was how, and this was in regard to Zillow, but sometimes when you'll see a sale price, you don't necessarily know that that was a cash sale. Like that could have been a land contract price from like 10 years ago and that was just paid off. So like,
or it could have been for 10 parcels and they apply that same acquisition price to all 10 parcels.
Totally. How many are we talking about? 5, 10? Like just go pull it. Just pull a deed and see what the tax is on there. If it's a state with a transfer tax, see what the transfer tax was. Do the math yourself, you know. California, 55 cents per $500. Oh, they paid, you know, you figure out what they paid depending on what state it is and what area. There's different ways. And you might even call the assessor and ask them, you know, I'm doing some research. How much did this person pay? And they'll be like, oh yeah, that's right here on my desk. I haven't entered it yet. You know, they'll tell you a lot of the times, because there's a lag between them getting the thing recorded and it getting through the assessor and them updating the databases, and then the database like Agent Pro, whatever, pulling or whatever database you're using, pulling it from the county after the county's updated it. Like there's steps in there. Lots of times you can cut it off by pulling the deed, looking at the taxes, calling them, asking. And we're not talking about that many transactions usually. So that kind of stuff, you could do that, but I don't think you need to.
Mm-hmm.
The price per acre, you're focusing on a price per acre. That's like iteration pricing number one. Over time, I've gone deeper down the rabbit hole, and I've tried mailers where you do the whole area, and it's like, I think the first time I did it was in the mountains in the backside of California. I did mailers, and sometimes the bigger acreage stuff is like crazy hillsides, and some of the smaller acreage ones are a lot more usable, and they're worth more money, and they're great views and stuff. And so it's a different kind of terrain that I started breaking away from dollars per acre, flat desert squares or something. Dollars per acre made a lot more sense. But when I started going into more unique properties and trying to find something that's special, I started breaking away from dollars per acre. And I just started offering some cockamamie number like 10,000, 125, 127.37. I got my sevens in there, and psychologically that's supposed to be higher acceptance, right? Mm-hmm. So I just put my stupid number in there across thousands and thousands of properties, and guys call and say, you offered 10,000, 127.37 to my brother's property, and you offered 10,000, 127.37 to my property. His is 40 acres, mine's 2 acres. What's going on?
Wow. So you don't even look at size. You're just doing the same number to a bunch of people.
Size doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It could be 160 acres and it'd be a cliff.
Yeah.
Well,
that
doesn't matter.
I sort of resonate with that, because like, no matter what, like the offer is going to be stupid. Like, it's not like a rational person would accept these offers anyway. So as long as they're going to be dumb, like just make them dumb for everybody across the board.
And maybe put some change on there.
Yeah.
Put some sense. And they call you and they ask, like, how did you come up with this number?
Yeah, there is, I don't have proof for this, but for a lot of the offers I've made, you include cents and you end it with the number 7. And somehow, like, psychologically, that seems like more. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's just
or 9, 7 or 9.
Or 9,
yeah. It's just when you put stuff on a menu, you have a restaurant menu is, I think, the case study example that's given the most. You have a bunch of different food, and some of it ends in 7. The price ends in 7 or 9. Those ones that end in 7 or 9, no matter where you put them on the menu, they get ordered 3 times more than the other stuff that ends in a 0 or a 2 or an 8, some other number.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Luke, are you saying right now in 2019, your process has you actively making the same weird offer that ends in the number 7 on a 5-acre parcel as a 20-acre parcel?
I'm trying to get you away from making dollars per acre offers.
Okay.
That's a piece of data. It's not the data. It's a piece of your matrix. And so when I started making those blanket offers across an area, I started getting a bunch of stuff accepted. I like $10,000 for 40 acres, a bunch of big trees, and awesome.
Yeah.
Sells for $60,000 a couple days later, right? Those are sweet. You don't get those without making your stupid offer. And when you make the stupid offer, you got a chance at getting them. And so you're doing a lot of work to figure out dollars per acre, and you're trying to do a calculation on dollars per acre to offer people in those counties. And there might be some guys in that county that are trying to figure out what their stuff's worth per acre. But I mean, really, you got more data than all those people. You know more about the market than most of them. Maybe a couple of them are real estate agents and their grandparents were and everything. They might know it better than you, but it's like very few of them. You're going to know more about this market than them. And you're going to be buying in the market and selling in the market. And you're making the market. Like, it was $100,000 that everyone was asking. Then you show up and you start asking $50,000. Like, those other people get mad, but they don't have the gall to lower their price by half. Usually it takes them a while, and you're sold and gone by then. Like, you go make the market. You set the price. You figure out what you think you can sell it at. What's going to get people to try to rip you off? They see your price and they think you're from out of town and there's something wrong, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong, and you're the weirdo over there, Southern California dude or whatever. I don't know where you're from. And they just try to to buy it and run away with it without asking any questions or setting off any alarms, that's what you want. That's the best buyer. You want it totally mispriced, lowly mispriced in the market. And to get that, you got to offer some horrible, stupid, nobody's going to take it offer, but people do. And that gets back to just making the offer. Just make the offer, and you don't have to accept them all either.
Yeah, so it sort of sounds like, I know one of the questions that our audience was asking in our forum was trying to figure out from people like you, how do you determine what market value is of a particular property in a particular area?
Yeah.
And it almost, I mean, as you know, with land, like there is no defined market value. Like it's such a weird, loosey-goosey. Yeah. Like even appraisers can't really tell you with certainty what land is worth. So it's almost like you don't even get stuck on that. You're just thinking like, what can I sell this thing for quickly? And then what does my offer have to be to back into that?
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. It's a piece of art.
Yeah.
Like that, there's some residual value in there. Some people stock the stuff away for their kids and their grandkids. And if they see the price going by, like the realtor buys it from you. You know, the end all be all realtor dude in the area. He's like, who is this idiot? You know, and they're the first one to make the offer. It's like, sweet, I priced it right.
Yeah.
You know, you go back and buy some more. Next time, get more accurate with your pricing. Now you know what they sell for. You could probably buy them at that same price that you just sold yours for and sell it for more because it sold so fast.
Yeah.
You know, you learn a lot by doing the first couple deals. You break the ice and you get started. And that's the hardest part. That's why I talk about what counties I'm working on and prices. And people say, why do you share so much? It's because most people don't ever get started to copy. And even when they do copy, I mean, look at the San Marino example I just gave. It still doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's lots of deals to be had out there.
Yeah, man. That was a really similar thought process I went through back when starting REtipster.com, because I had this fear too of like, well, I don't want to like ruin this amazing thing, you know. But you're right. I mean, lots of people, whether the information is there or not, like just aren't going to act on it. And even if they do, like there's a lot of shiny object syndrome and that kind of thing. And I don't know why. It's not that the opportunity isn't there. It's just human nature, maybe. But,
I think human nature is a big piece of it for any business. There's a lot of opportunity in lots of businesses out there.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing holding people back. Human nature.
Yeah.
And maybe they're smart enough or they're coy enough or whatever to go after better opportunities that I don't know about. I'm sure there's tons of them out there.
Yeah. That's
more power to them. But I've been learning this space and I see the opportunities in this space. And I'd like to chase down more of them.
Yeah.
Bigger, better, faster, more.
Yeah.
In every way that I can.
Totally. Do you have like when you're doing these blind offers and when you start ratcheting it up to the higher value properties, do you start offering like a higher percentage of what you think it will sell for? Like basically, do you feel like you have to put a higher percentage of skin in the game versus when you're doing the desert square lots?
I think you're more likely to negotiate on price. You know, they come back and they offer something else. And, you know, there's lots of ways to negotiate. I mean, go look that person up, see if they own more properties, right?
Yeah.
Like they're trying to negotiate on this one. They've got a number in mind for this one. They own 6 others in like other states. Like let's bundle them all together and come up with some package. Maybe you're just simplifying their life. It's not all about price. There's lots of ways to do it.
Yeah.
You just got to get started.
Like this $90,000 property. I mean, that's a lot of money to dump into vacant land. Like I think that would scare a lot of people off. So like, given the investment in something like that, like how much do you expect to extract out of that? Like what percentage of eventual selling price do you think that was? Or is it not even part of the thought process? You just know you can make a profit. It's not all about getting the exact percentage right.
I think I could sell it for less than half the marketplace and still make 3 times the money.
Okay.
I think that's good. There's a lot of room for error there. I'm sure there's something that goes wrong and we learn along the way and eats up some of that room for error. Yeah. But it should still come out. I think the timeline is the question. How long does it take to sell the thing? Hopefully getting some better pictures on it today or tomorrow, and off to the races.
Yeah. Yeah. How often has it happened with you where you've either lost money or basically broken even on a property? Like, is that a common thing given this way that you price offers?
It happens. I'm trying to line up a notary close today, either right after this, not a notary, a title close. Like Fidelity, you guys start using a lot of different title shops, you'll notice that Fidelity always has their notary that they want you to sign with, or go to one of their offices to sign. You can't pick your own notary. So I'm on the road, right? So I'm asking them, and I'm going to check after this meeting if they've got a title shop around here on my way back north that I could stop in and sign off on this property that I've had for about a year. And it's a break-even deal. Like there's a drop. The road does like an inside turn, and so your driveway would be on the inside turn, which is less desirable. And then there's a drop from the road down into the property. It's a bit of a hill to like get the driveway started in there. It's kind of skinny lot where the road, up to where the road is. It's not super skinny, but it's kind of skinny. And then it goes back, and there's a bunch of woods, and it comes around a tree, and it's over a stream. There's a big lake up the way, and it looks beautiful. So lots of things are pro. It's got a water meter on the property. It's got a power line, like a lot of good stuff going for it.
Yeah.
And so I fell for it and bought it, and paid, I think it was just over $20,000. Now I'm selling it for 25, but the taxes, like $2,000 in tax, really high tax one because of the area's fancy, and title on both sides. I mean, I'm probably going to lose a couple $100. It's been sitting on it for a year, so the money's dead, right? Could have been in many other things. That's the one that's bugging me right now. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
That's a bad one.
Would you say that's like 1 out of 100 or something, or how common does that come up?
Go break even after a year? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
just curious, not a big deal. But.
In the smaller ones, less or so. In the bigger ones, I think it's more because there's something, I learned something along the way.
Yeah.
There's zoning or.
Yeah. With the bigger ones, I mean, the due diligence matters a heck of a lot more because like the person who ends up buying it, like they're going to invest a lot more. They probably are only doing it because there's very specific use in mind, and they better be able to use it for that. So
yeah, they're going to use it. Like they're going to use it as soon as they buy it. These bigger dollar ones, they're not putting that kind of money in to just store it away for their grandkids as often as smaller properties, smaller dollar properties. And the smaller dollar properties, I'm more willing and able to offer on terms, change the price to $100 down, $100 a month. I mean, you can sell anything. It's you just fix the number with how many months you charge it for. Right?
Yeah, sure.
I don't like that business, but you can turn most anything quite economic doing that, even problem properties. So, but I'm not willing to do that in the big dollar ones. I don't have the finances to do it. And it's just not, it's not the business I'm in.
Yeah.
Let me toss you just a couple of tactical questions about pricing offers, if it's okay, just to make sure that I can connect a few more dots. If you're going back to the 3 to 5 acre 2 to 5 acre desert squares, is a good, pretend you don't know the area yet, or you just barely know the area, is a good pricing offer metrics the Seth's 10 to 25% of market value for blind offers? Is that been reliable for you?
Yeah, I think that works fine. And but not $200 or something. Like put some minimum on there, $500 or $1,000 or something that's worth the person to pick up the phone and call you and do paperwork and that kind of thing.
Okay.
You can do that on. If I could go back to those days, I wish I would have put these things all through title and gone for ones that are economic enough to price title in there.
Why?
It's a good question. I've picked on title a lot in a lot of my videos, a lot of historical stuff that I've been involved in. I still like to pick on title, but when title closes, it's done. It's like it's done. You know, people don't ask for refunds. They don't want their money back. They don't come back to you with there's somebody living on the property, or there's the airport is only seasonal, and now that I moved there, the season's open and it's really loud or whatever. You know, like all kinds of things come back. As and I think the people that I sold the smaller dollar properties to are more willing to come back to me and say, I want to trade it for something else. I want to exchange it for something else. So I totally understand that. And I make them right, left, right, and center. Right? I want to keep them happy. But when it goes through title, there's like somebody else to point at. It's, it cleans the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not so much in reality, but psychologically for the people that are involved. It cleans the deal. So if they have some problem, they go back to title or their title insurance or something and try to solve it with them. It's kind of a Bermuda Triangle. I'm not saying you really get a solution out of there, but it kind of directs it over there instead of coming back to me. And so when you do thousands and thousands and thousands of deals over time, lots of people involved in these deals, there's a lot of stuff that starts coming up later that I don't want to spend time on. The time of fixing those things is whether they were my fault or not, is if I would have done deals that were economic enough to pay for title out of the gate, I probably wouldn't have done anywhere near as many deals, but they would be so much cleaner. My history would be cleaner, and it would be a lot easier to just jump into the next ones, the next ones, the next ones, instead of spending so much time helping people with old ones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those people come back and they buy more properties, and I'm very grateful for those people. And so maybe the other side of that is I wouldn't get as much repeat business, but it would be nice to just have them clean and done, like done, gone. Like, don't come back to me asking for paperwork. Like, okay, just I sent you deeds. Like, go to the county, get your deed. Go to the, like just simple stuff. It's not complicated. A lot of it doesn't cost any money or anything. It's just paperwork and time. Mm-hmm. At the time they wanted it in their family name, and now they want it in the kid's name. They want me to help them change it from one name to the next. Like, you need you should get an attorney, you know? But explaining that to them, go hire somebody. I can't advise you on that.
I think there is some value in like doing some of it yourself just to understand what's happening and to realize like I can do this if I want. Like that is an option on the table, but it can be sort of hard, especially once you know how cut and dry it actually is, and then paying a title company for them to take like 3 times longer than they need to and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So like I get why that's hard, but I agree. Like I haven't self-closed a deal in years, and it is very nice to just like outsource that and be like, not my problem. You guys are the pros. Spend your time, your expertise, and I agree. I hadn't even thought about the psychological aspect of making it seem cleaner, but I'm positive that's a side effect of that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've refunded a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, vacant land, it's especially small dollar vacant land. Mm-hmm. The attention span that people have is short with that stuff. I mean, they're buying a hope, right? They're buying a dream, and life changes, and the dream goes away, and they got the land, and they're like, "What do I do with it now?" Mm-hmm. Well, my cash offer on the land is 10 to 20 cents what you paid, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do you really want me to buy it back from you? Why don't you sell it yourself? Why don't you, and I end up like saying, okay, I'll put it up for sale for you, see if somebody else buys it, and then somebody else buys it, and I'm stuck in the middle, like shuttling money around or promises, and then I'm basically like guaranteeing the land to the person that I'm selling it to, and I'm buying it from the person I already sold it to, like on an option deal or something, trying to make them happy. And I know I shouldn't be doing that, but like I'm trying to keep my customers happy. And so I think the further you can put more in between you and them, it cleans house for later on in the future. Yeah. To be able to walk away, or to be able to quit, or to be able to do a lot more deals without servicing and servicing and servicing.
Yeah.
But for the Luke 2015s out there, who maybe it just doesn't math out because of you're in 3 to 5 acre parcels, and having a title company in the mix doesn't make financial sense, or you just don't really have proof of concept enough to merit scaling up.
Yep.
Then the self-close option is, I'm super grateful for it, because I didn't know how to close a deal before. I got to learn how to read a warranty deed and how to create a warranty deed, and it was troublesome, because I've used title companies in the house side of my business for a decade and a half or more. It was problematic in one sense, but also kind of nerdy. Enjoyed it in a way, learning that process. But I am looking forward to no longer having to manage it. I'm not ready to cross that threshold yet, though.
Yeah.
It's really hard to manage the title process. Wait. Okay. Now. Wait. Now.
Yeah.
And being in the hot seat for 2 minutes to sign something or deliver some paperwork along the way to get the deal done. So you're always on the edge of your seat. Okay, when's it my turn? And then lots of deals like that, right? Doing a lot of them at the same time. And sometimes I'll have like 25 title closes going on at the same time, and trying to keep track of them all, multiple states and counties, different people on, involved in them all. And it gets ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the notary closes, they're sweet at first for a while, for a couple of years. And then over time, it caught up with me. It gets old. So, booking notaries, I'd ship out 4 or 5, sometimes 8 or 10 notary packages a day to buy property, go to the bank, ride my bike over to the bank, get my cashier's check, put it in with my paperwork for the notary to collect from whoever I'm buying the land from, and return envelopes and stuff, and just packaging it all up, because I couldn't really get the Philippines to do that for me. Just have them prepare a lot of it, have them hire the notary, have them do a lot of the scheduling. And I just end up being a print shop locally, running to the bank and getting cashier's checks all day long.
Just a hard job.
Shipping them off, and then hopefully the Philippines can keep track of the notary and when it's happening. And please don't get me involved in the logistics of when the notary is meeting the person and where. And
how many VAs do you have at work for you at this point?
200% of the time, and then it's expandable up and down depending on tasks from there. So the rest of them are on call.
Okay.
But 2 of them full time, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And then Philippines ones, and then Jessica in the U.S. I've tried to, depending on the dollar size of the deal, send the bigger deals to the U.S. and the more process oriented. The ones we've got figured out and steam, just repeat stuff to the Philippines. But if there's anything that needs to be figured out, it's like stays in the U.S.
Yeah, sure.
Just trying to divide and conquer that way.
That makes sense. And in terms of like technology and the different resources that you use, I know we've kind of talked about a few of them, but like, what would you say are the most important, most influential in your ability to do what you do? If you have a list of like, I need all these things to do my work.
I always think so. And then I go traveling and I do a lot of stuff without a bunch of it. Get a little lighter on my feet. I've moved like 4 times since Christmas or whatever.
Really? Wow.
So that's a different story. California's pricing's like, it just keep getting pinched out everywhere. So my office gets more and more mobile. I've been looking at doing maybe a co-work space next week or something, or building another shed. I might build another shed, just do co-working and shed back and forth. Use a shed for like a studio for making videos and stuff. We'll see. Or getting like updating my camera technology equipment to have like a tripod thing so I could do it in parks and on the street or mobile. I think that'd be even more fun. So I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but I might do that.
I can send you some stuff I use. It's pretty cool.
Some neat tools here. So that kind of technology, But that's not for the 2015 Luke. That's for the 2019 Luke, because of the economics of the properties when it comes to pricing them and figuring out what to do. The social media side gives me access to capital. And so because I share what I'm working on and I teach people different attributes of the business, it garners trust. And that trust turns into access to capital over time. And that's why I share what I share, and I don't charge. I don't charge for it. That's not the point. So the access to capital allows me to go after bigger dollar deals, like this $90,000 one we're just talking about. I think I can sell that thing for $300,000 plus. I'm going to split it up 3 ways. I'm going to sell each piece $100,000 when the market's 250. It seems like I could pull off a $100,000 sale when the comps are $250,000. We'll see. But, you know, that access to capital, do those kinds of deals, allows me to price properties and target properties differently than 2015 Luke. And so the 2 to 5 acre properties we're talking about, I'm talking about bigger dollar ones, taking them through title and going after ones through title. I'm talking about the technology that allows me to raise capital, that allows me to share what I'm doing to raise capital, to pull out those bigger dollar deals, instead of using the money that I have myself to go after the smaller dollar deals and limited number of smaller dollar deals because I only have so much capital. It's not like I'm waiting for the properties to sell to go buy more. You know, and I could use that money to buy more and then flip them. That was 2015 Luke. 2019 Luke is, I'm sorry guys, I don't have enough time to do more deals. Like, yes, you have the money for them. I can see that. And yeah, we just sold some properties. Like I find that there's more money out there for these deals than I could keep up with, and in a big way. And that's because I share what I'm doing. And so that sharing brings back that ability. So I think if you're looking at the technologies, you should be studying social media stuff. For one, to sell properties. I mean, I sell a lot of properties on YouTube, but to get your name or your business, your face, your image out there, because someday, hopefully, you'll want to do these deals in title, and you want to do a lot of them in a lot bigger way, and maybe not just little residential ones, but big commercial ones, like a Grant Cardone or something does. He goes social media crazy, raises money for these monstrosity apartment complexes that pay, I don't know, 7% yield or something, 10% yield. It's really nice yields to the right people. And he wants them to put up $1 million minimum or some number. I don't have my numbers exactly. But you see, he raises crazy amounts of money to take on those deals. What's the risk to him?
You kind of are like a miniature, nicer version of Grant Cardone.
I'm not making, I look up to him. I think he does a lot of great stuff.
You didn't say it, I'm saying it.
I think he's brash and his own way of doing things. It's him. He shares what he does his way. I'm a different person. I share differently. But you can look at the social media of those. He's just one guy, and there's multiple guys like that. The social media up there investing in what they're doing, and you have to be very careful with it. On the securities exchange side and promoting investments and the rules and regulations behind that. So you can't just go ask for money so blatantly, but by sharing and educating is a way that I think the smarter guys that know the laws do it.
No, it's true. I have literally never asked for money from anybody, and the emails come in pretty regularly. Like, hey Seth, like I got money. Like, can you put this to work for me? That kind of thing. So yeah, it's one of those things you don't really have to ask for, but if you're building trust, and Luke does it really well. I mean, better than most people I've seen, even people who are out there like trying to sell courses and that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, he's just got this very real, down to earth, like, I just am who I am, and this is what I do, and I can see why that would work for sure.
So I mean, some guys sell courses, and that's more power to them. I think being the teacher gains trust, allows them to finance stuff. If they want to make money selling the course along the way, great. I don't know. I'd rather work on the deals, like
Mhm.
on the deals, better
Sure.
deals, more deals. And I think there's, one of those deals could pay for selling hundreds or thousands of courses.
Yeah.
And I think the deals are much more repeatable
Mhm.
than selling tons
Yeah.
and tons of courses.
Yeah. I
And
think wherever your strengths and gifts and desires lie, I mean, a lot of options and doors open to you when you can build
yeah,
trust like that. However you wanna use that to your benefit.
yeah,
So
there's lots of ways to do it.
yeah.
But that allows you to price them.
Mhm.
Back to your pricing models,
Mhm.
questions, allows you to price bigger price tags, more desirable properties, hotter markets, and continuously go in that direction
Mhm.
instead of 3 acres in the desert
Mhm.
that will sell and you will make money on it. Um, but how long does it take you to make that money, and how much money, how much work did you put in to make that money?
Mhm.
And just the basic finance of like Pareto principle going for, 80% of the profits are made by 20% of the deals. Like, are you spending your time on those bottom 80% or the bottom 10 or 20%?
Mm.
That steal ridiculous amounts of time from you, and you could be doing other things. I got kids, like spending time with my kids,
Yeah.
or other business endeavors, other properties, other projects. It's getting lighter on your feet and just doing more per deal, more
Mhm.
money per deal. I think is a huge progression and path for the new guys coming into land. Is, yeah, start with notary closes, learn how it works, small dollar, pyramid up, bigger dollar ones, snowball up, whatever word you want to call it, until you start getting into title ones. In the title ones, it's just a lot cleaner. Like, you never hear from them again.
Mhm.
That's a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
Sell the land, never hear from the buyer again. Never hear from the seller again. The sellers don't call you and ask about the taxes, or
Yeah.
the neighbor sent them a letter to cut down a tree that's hanging over their property, or, all that stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah.
When the title closes.
Mhm.
Luke, you've been really generous in sharing some of your strategies and tactics on pricing offers, and also just some of the principles underlying Luke 2019's approach to pricing offers. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Taking a step back, I just have a kind of a, I don't know, kind of a weird question. I'm curious, what's one word that you think best describes you as a land investor in 2019? What's one word besides Luke 2019, because that's the new word? What's one word you would use to apply to yourself as a land investor today?
Cautious.
Yeah. And what does that mean to you? What does that word mean to Luke 2019?
It's a Pareto principle. It just goes back to Pareto principle, where I used to be a penny stock broker, right? And if you look at people's portfolios of investments, there'll be some dogs down there at the bottom. Let's say they got 10 stocks in their portfolio, just to keep it simple. The bottom two just like stole all the money. They're the thieves, the scoundrels, the dirtbags, the robbers. The top two stocks have paid for everything. They made up for all those thieves and then some, hopefully. Like, these are penny stocks. They're skewed way out there compared to Wall Street. Way out there. That's Pareto principle. Top 20% paid for all the profits and then some. The ones in the middle are just kind of like blah. The land deals are the same way. Finance, you can see it. In doing data and looking at spreads, you can see it. When you look at the assessor's data, and what the assessor is ranking these properties for you. I'm not going to say pricing them, I'm saying ranking them. And the assessor is ranking those properties in their county for you. And you look at their assessment of those properties. I used to mail offers to those bottom 20% ones because they're the most likely to accept your offer. They're the most likely to accept your offer because they're at the bottom of the creek, they're on the cliff, they're the triangle in between the freeway and the exit, they're the easement that goes to nowhere, like the strip of stupidity. Like, these properties that you don't want, generally, not all of them, but generally, they're the ones you don't want. That top 20%, they're the least likely to accept your offer. They're the first ones that are going to sell if you get your hands on them. They're going to sell for a heck of a lot more. So I'm being cautious. I'm trying to stay away from those bottom 20%. I'm trying to be in the top 20%. And I'm trying to curate my data in a way that I target those a lot more, whether it's waterfront, it's by taxes, they might be the highest tax ones, they might be the highest assessed ones, they might be the biggest acreage, they might be the smallest acreage in the sweetest spot, but whatever that reason is for that area, like those unique, awesome properties, that's where I want to be. That's where I want to go. I don't want to be in the bottom. The middle is economic. They're a lot easier to price. Those top ones, if I can get some of those to come through, that's the future of my business. That's where I want to be.
Yeah. I almost wonder if you could, you probably could, like, figure out what are those home run deals people have had in certain areas and like reverse engineer. Like, okay, what is it about that property that was so great? Like whether it's the zoning or the location or the price point or something. But
I can do it on my own deals.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what you do basically.
Shoot up from there. But I mean, you can do it with counties too. So we keep talking about counties because the data, if you're newer to this, the data that we get to price properties is coming from a specific county. So I'm always thinking in counties because the data is across the county. The data is different. The county next door's data is different. The market might be similar, but the data is different. So you can do a different data dance for each county. So you can go target counties that are more productive, for lack of better words, by looking at stuff like we talked about before, like the Zillow days on market, how many people have looked at that property in that days on market, how many people are saving it. Like a bunch of people are saving that kind of property in that market. Those are shoppers that are like live real time, the last week, the last month. Those people are not, a lot of them probably just go away and never look again, but some of them keep looking and they keep looking and they keep looking. And they're in areas that tend to line up with low days on market in housing. And there's a lot more data on low days or on days on market for houses than there is on vacant land. So you can look at places that have low days on market for housing and then go look at the land from there, and you probably see places that turn over a lot faster. That's been my logic and conclusion. I haven't proven that, but I think it makes sense, and you guys can run with it how you will. But studying that kind of stuff in marketplaces before you dive into them, I think, can start targeting those top 20% kinds of markets and stop being out in the middle of nowhere, Navajo County, Arizona or something, north of Interstate 40, which takes forever to sell stuff. You can always buy it and you can always sell it. It just takes a long time. And you don't have to do that. You can start there and you can learn, but you can go to places that are, I live in Encinitas, California. Days on market are like for houses, 7, 8, 10, 12 days or something. They're stupid low. Like if I could find any vacant land there, be money, no question. It doesn't matter what you pay. You could sell it for more because the market is red hot. I'm not mailing offers there, but something in between that's closer to those crazy hot markets. That's the top. That's cautious. That's me being cautious. I don't want to take the risk of being out in the middle of nowhere anymore. I don't want to take the risk of being bottom of the assessed value properties in that county. And you don't know what that is until you pull the data and you sort it.
Yeah. When you're doing these blind offers, how granular are you getting? Like, as we talked about, you sort of get it from the whole county, but obviously, apples to apples, it's not really what you're getting when you get 1 acre on one side of the county versus 1 acre on the other side. So like, do you narrow down to the zip code or to the subdivision or the township, or like, how do you really parcel it out?
I like to do that in more unique counties, like San Diego County, California. I just said I didn't mail Encinitas, but I guess I did. But Encinitas in San Diego County. But I was targeting for vacant land. And so San Diego County, you've got the ocean on one side, you've got the deserts on the other side, and you've got a big mountain in between that's got like snow on top part of the year. So you've got, I think it goes below sea level to 5,000-6,000 feet back down to sea level. And you've got cities, and one of your videos you made a long time ago, you picked on San Diego County. Like, you're never going to mail San Diego County. And the example you pulled up is you pulled up a property, it was Hotel Del Coronado. And you're looking at something in
It was a
one of
long
your
time ago.
videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you picked on San Diego County. I'm like, I can mail San Diego County.
Looks like challenge accepted.
And this
Wrong.
I can't use Arizona desert squares or Nevada desert squares to price this business model. You got to get more selective with the different pieces of the county. And so San Diego County has, I might get it wrong off the top of my head, but I think it's the book, the page, the split, and maybe the piece of a split. And so the APN number is what I'm talking about. And this name of culture is different in each county, but a lot of them are similar. And they usually start out with the book. So historically, the assessor would keep a book of maps. And these maps, you open that specific book 13, for example, you open that up, and then you go to page 24. So the APN would be 13, 24, and then you look at that map, and it'll be 01 would be the first lot on that map. 02 would be the next lot on that map. And so your APN number starts with the book, then page, and then what piece of land it is on that map. And so if you understand that logic of the name of culture of the APN of that county, you can go and Agent Pro 24/7 that Seth has promoted in the past, and you can just put the book part of the APN in there, and it pulls up a whole bunch of pins on the map of where the first like 15 properties are in that book. And it might only be 15 properties in that book, or it might be 5,000, I think, because they max out at 5,000 in Agent Pro. And so if you go down to the next page and the next page and the next page, you can see those pins moving across the map. And then you'll see it start over and then move across the map. And so they'll start, for San Diego County, it starts in the northwesternmost corner, and it goes to the northeasternmost corner. And then it starts over like a typewriter or reading a book or something. It would start over. It goes to the next one, and it starts over. It goes to the next one, starts over. And so when you're over on the westernmost part of the county, you're by the ocean. Those prices are, I can't afford that stuff. And then as you go inland a little bit, elevation goes up. And those are expensive properties because the weather is perfect. And then as you go inland a little bit further, the weather gets nastier in the winter and the prices go down. And then you go up over the mountains, you go back down to the desert, and it's totally different price in the desert. Like, people throw those properties away. You're talking Borrego Springs or something. Yeah. Good luck. So that APN, you break it down, and you can see like where those pieces of the APN are by just using the book, or the book and the page, or the book and the first number of that page, or the book and the first couple numbers of that page or something. And it'll show you right where those properties are on the map. Like, okay, I can price for the beach here. The next piece, I can price for really nice weather, but not on the beach. And then I can price for mountains, foothills, still green, not desert, not crazy top, mountaintop. And then, you drop the price down as you go up the mountain. And then you go back down the desert, and you just about want to run the other way. And then it starts over by the beach again. And so as you do that to the whole county, you can sort your APNs in order from smallest to largest, and you can use that little box at the bottom. You drag down, on Excel, you can drag your price for the beach, drag your price for the foothills, drag your price for the mountains, drag your price for the desert. Start over. Drag your price for the beach, drag your price for the foothills, drag your price for the mountains, start over. So that's getting pretty granular of what price you're doing in different areas. And so off of that mailer, I got properties close to the beach, I got properties in the foothills, I got properties in the mountains, and I got properties in the desert. And if I would have tried to blanket the whole county, I would have just got stuff in the desert.
And I think that's beautiful, because what you just described is a process that can be repeated in any county in the U.S., right? You start at the very top with understanding the logic of the APN numbers and how and where do the groups of parcels fit on the map based on the numerical system they have in place. Once you understand the logic of it, then you can go in and say, okay, where are the obvious price breaks, beach versus mountain versus desert? You can see on the map, once you have the logic figured out, where those price breaks are logically. Then you come up with a formula, a metric that you can own, that's tailored for that specific area. And then you apply it to every single parcel number in that area. That I love because it's formulaic. Even though it's not the same in every county, it is a type of process, a system that you can apply to understand any given county. Does that seem true to you?
Yes. And because of that, neighborhoods that are in there usually start with the same APN number. 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, whatever, depending on the name of culture of that county. So you get to a neighborhood that's a whole bunch of quarter-acre lots around a golf course or whatever they have going on. You can price that neighborhood. So you can say the houses are going for this. I think the land should be, might trade for 25% of the houses. I want to buy it for, I want to sell it at half of that, what it should go for. And you can do your math and figure it out. You price that neighborhood and you can just drag that price out across that whole neighborhood for all those same size lots. Maybe a different part of the neighborhood has the 3-acre lots versus the quarter-acre lots. And you can adjust it. If it's 3 acres, then this, and if it's quarter-acre, then that, and drag out your formula for that neighborhood. You can get more specific for that specific neighborhood. You can start putting if and if then stuff for pricing models. If it's between 0.2 acres and 1 acre, then it's going to be this price band. 1 acre to 2 acres, then it's this price band. If it's 5 acres to, make all the numbers line up, right? But you can have different price bands for different sizes, if that makes sense for that area. You can, and I'll go into the formula and I'll add on, if the taxes are above this, then bump it up by 50%, because I want those crazy high tax, high desirable properties if the county is pricing the taxes right. Or if the taxes are below $100, like, let's put that factor on there to go down by, let's take 80% of the price off of there.
Yeah.
Like those are the throwaway things you don't want. I'm still gonna mail them, but just make that price so ridiculously low that it makes sense. So you can put kickers in there in your formula based on multiple variables, whatever kind of variables you have in that county. Whether if you think the taxes are lining up to more desirable and less desirable properties, or the assessed values are lining up more or less, or if the county tells you that these ones have access and these ones don't, or if whatever the county says, you can cook that into your formula to bump the price up or down accordingly. And you can have multiple bumps in your formula depending on different pieces of data that the county gives you, like zoning we were talking about before. And so when you get that granular, it's going to be hard to take that formula to the next county, because the next county is not going to have all that data.
Right.
You have different data. And so you don't really know what that data is until you pull a big data set to see. Because you might pull 10 or 20 records, be like, oh, here's my taste, my sample, which I used to do a lot of. I always call it taste the data first before you go buy it all. And I still advocate that, but you don't see what is really there in the data, because some of the records have the information and a lot of them have blanks, right?
Yeah.
But if that information's there and you go test it and make sure it's accurate, why not cook it into your formula?
Yeah. Part of what I love that you're getting into here is something that a lot of people don't look deep enough into, in terms of like, there's like an infinite number of different ways you can filter your lists. And like this whole idea of sorting by APN, that kind of thing, like I've never even done that, but that's a brilliant way to go about really separating out different sections. And that, San Diego example is a perfect example of like a segmented county where the very different, diverse,
hugely different
types of, and I'm sure that exists in every county, but like that's just like a prime example. But yeah, it almost makes me think, like if you can really zero in on the most effective ways to set up different filtering criteria, going beyond just the basic, 10 to 20 acres and this assessed value range, and they're done. Like if you can really drill down to different ways, like that can give you a huge unfair advantage that a lot of people will never have because they're never going to go that deep. So.
But you got to start somewhere, and you're not going to start with that kind of pricing model. Mm-hmm. You're going to start with the 10 to 20 acres for some generic countywide price or something that's easy to just get in the mail, like get it started. start.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that we circle back to that point. The progress over perfection, done is better than perfect, because obviously I light up when I get a formula that I can figure out, or a process that this is a system. It can be rinsed and repeated. I can take this that Luke just gave me, I can apply it to a county and come up with the unique formulas based on the segments of this county. But there's still, no matter how good you are, how hard you work, there's the wild card factor. In my county, no matter how much I sorted the APNs and segmented the data logically, I'm still going to have this parcel that's less than half a mile away from this parcel that's should be bought at less than half the price of this parcel, less than half a mile away, because this one happens to be on a tableland with no trees, and this one happens to be down on the side of a hill with lots of trees. This one's closer to the river, this one's farther away. And that really can't be forensically mathed out with a formula like that. And if it happens, if I make an offer on that tableland that should have been made on a parcel down lower on the hill, and it's twice the price that I can really pay when I look at it closely, once they say heck yes, what's the worst case scenario? I just can't buy the land, or hey, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, and I show them the map and say I have to revise my offer, and then they either get angry or they accept it. And it's not a bad worst case scenario. And it's that fear of making those mistakes that holds us back, I think, so much.
Yeah, that's huge. Totally. Back to that model, because this whole talk is about pricing, right? That model works in San Diego County. That works in, I think, all the counties in California have that kind of logic in their APN. I believe all the counties in Arizona have that. I think Nevada does that. If you go to Wyoming, for example, I was just doing a bunch of mailers in Wyoming. The first number in the APN starts with the first property, and then second number is like the second property that was created or recorded or whatever. And then the third number is the third one, and they have no relationship to each other. Like, they don't start up here and go this way and this way. They're not categorized. They don't make sense. There's only 1,000 properties in the county. They know them all, right? It's like they're simpler. It's just down to earth. And you can't do that in Wyoming, from my experience. Maybe some counties, but each county is basically different. So you got to create a whole new model.
I know Agent Pro actually has like a sort of a lasso tool where you can like draw very specific lines around the area you want to show up on your list.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if you can visualize any differences, which I'm sure is possible in a lot of areas, that could be one way to do it. It's just more of a visual rather than going by what the numbers say if they don't mean anything.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think a lot of people try to use the mapping tools to price. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just me, but I've never figured out how to put other criteria in there with the mapping tool. The softwares get clogged up. It's like too many variables for them to process. Mm-hmm. So when doing the mapping tool, you pull a chunk of data, and with maybe one or two variables, but not like 5 or 10 that you can throw at it. Mm-hmm. And then you pay and you download that data, and then you can drill down deeper and figure out what you mail. Mm-hmm. So I think you end up paying more for data. When you're doing that, I mean, you might as well, I think, use the criteria you have, to drill down and just get the whole county. And you're going to learn other stuff from that data. You'd really be surprised at what you can learn from looking at a whole county's set of data and sorting by stuff. Like, sort by the assessed value and look at the properties that are like, what's the lowest assessed value? There's probably a bunch of zeros. Those are parks and, some government something. Probably should have put some minimum on there, but oops, now I know. Mm-hmm. And what are the ones that are $5? These are stupid lands. And then all of a sudden, $20 tax a year, they start making sense. For the county next door, they start making sense at $200 tax a year. Mm-hmm. You don't know until you pull that county's data and look at it. Yeah. And I think there's a lot more to learn there in that spreadsheet by sorting by all kinds of different columns, whatever data you get from whatever data source you pull it from, right? Gives you different columns data that may be filled or may not be, and sorting them and looking at duplicates. Like, are there 5 names that own half the properties in the county? You know, some of these counties, you try to get rid of some duplicates and your list just goes, ooh, like, geez, no more records to mail. You know, it's really, one rancher owns the whole place. What am I doing here? Buying or selling to him, like, where's the rest of the business? You know, you learn a lot. You don't know what you're going to learn until you get in there.
Yeah.
Look at that
That's
data.
very true. Yeah, there's value in just getting out there and bashing into the walls a little bit and figuring out where the boundaries are, for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes they have the sales prices too, what stuff's been selling for, and that can be really eye-opening too.
Yeah.
Like, it used to sell for $2,000 20 years ago, but now it sells for $20,000. You know, I'm trying to buy it for less than that because I don't want to be, I don't want to be that guy doing retail, exiting at retail. Yeah. That's too hard to pull off.
What do you think, JP? Have we hit all the majors in our list of stuff, or any other pressing items on your mind you want to ask?
No, I think I've checked all the boxes on my end. Luke, I really appreciate your time and just not holding anything back and letting us throw any old question or hypothetical at you, man.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, this has been super valuable, and thank you for not just this, but like what you do for the land community. I know you're a huge resource to a lot of people, and it means a lot. So appreciate you.
Yeah, go do some deals, and you get stuck, give me a call, see what we figured out. There's always ways to work together. So let me know.
If I ever do buy land from you, I'll be sure to call you 2 years later to ask for help on deeding it to somebody else, and ask me where my property is and all this stuff.
Can I deed this into my cat's name now?
Get them all kinds. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you again, Luke. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
And best of luck to you. And hopefully we can stay in touch and talk again sometime.
Sounds good.
All righty. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Hope you guys got something out of this. And we'll talk to you next time. See ya.